Welcome back to It Tastes Like Burning, this Matt.
This is Jesse.
And as per the usual, we are going to be killing bugs in the background. It is now officially spring in Texas. So if you hear our victory noise of, got one, then we'll be in fine shape and form leading into the new day and new summer year that's fast approaching.
Yeah, the gnats have arrived.
We'll eventually take our snorkel off and prepare to put on our sunscreen in probably another 3 months. But right now, it's swimming weather.
Yeah, no, it's so the parking lot here at the studio yesterday when I drove by on the one of many trips past running calls was standing in about a foot of water.
Mm.
Yeah, it was a swampy, let's just put it that way. We had, I don't know, 6 inches maybe of rain yesterday.
That much?
It was a bunch. Like there was water, copious amounts of water.
I wasn't in town. I was.
Oh, look at there.
There's one.
Yeah,
That
that one
one.
kamikaze.
Yeah, that one decided to just do it and accept their fate. Maybe it is that easy.
Yeah.
But oh, hey, by the way, if you ever feel like reaching out to us, find us at ittasteslikeburningcast at gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at ITLBcast. You can find us on Patreon at ITLBcast. Always search for us on the YouTubes or the Googlers. And appreciate likes, clicks, subscribes, and go ahead.
And we're on Facebook.
So, yeah, right there on the old Facebook.
The Book of Faces. So don't ask for a lot of requests. Don't care, do the Patreon if you love us and you want to, but here's what I need. I need everybody to hit pause or just keep listening. And down there's going to be a little share this episode thing, and I want you to click on that. Go to your social media and share this episode of this podcast. Right this very minute. Don't wait. Don't do it in a minute. If you're driving on the highway, wait a minute. But outside of that, let's get y'all to share this thing and get it out there to more and more people.
Yeah, I mean, we're growing. It's weird, but it's real steady. It's real organic. And damn it, people, Joe Rogan, we're never going to catch him if you don't help us out here. And we can't afford to have Joey Diaz on. So
yeah. Or Scott Peterson, or whatever, Jordan Peterson. Not Scott Peterson. That's the one that killed his wife. That's a different one, right?
Yeah. We don't want to go to Florida to interview him.
But yeah, it'd help us out tremendously if you guys would share this on your socials. We typically post it. If you follow us on some realm of the social media, maybe repost our post or give it a like, give it a lick, see what you can come up with. We'd certainly appreciate it. Like I said, like Matt said, it's ever growing, and it's a steady rate, but sure wouldn't hurt to have a little infusion of followers there.
And also, don't forget that if you truly want to experience excellence and awesomeness, here at the end of June, we're going to be down in our SFFMA state convention down in San Marcos. And I think we're presenting on Saturday, correct?
Yeah, Saturday morning. I think there's still some schedule juggling that's happening because takes a minute to get that set up, get all this set up, and they had us running second to somebody else, and hopefully we can get that worked out where we've got a little setup time. That is going to be live on YouTube. So if you're out there in the world, you can watch it on YouTube. And when I get a firm time on Saturday, I'll share that with everybody. But it's looking like Saturday morning sometime, hopefully first thing. And then if you miss it live, it'll be on the YouTubes forevermore.
Yeah, because we're also doing a live streaming thing with that, right?
That's where the live stream will live, is on the YouTube.
And that's for the Louisiana. Good Lord, where the hell are they all coming from? Anyways,
Yeah, no, Louisiana's taking our feed, and they're going to do that through Zoom, so that's going to be more of an invitation only thing, uh, where they're seeing who's on there, and they're giving some training credit for that through the Louisiana
state.
Firefighters Fire Marshals Association, I think is what it is,
Okay.
uh, over there in Louisiana. So uh, it's it's awesome, and we're doing some cool things. So
And what we're going to be speaking about when we're down at SFFMA is, well, it's going to be a kind of a multifaceted discussion, but ultimately, what we're going to focus on is just building, growing, developing your organization today.
right,
Um, and it's going to be us and a couple of other departments in the state that are willing to be brave and try different things. And what we've done is we've brought together a collection of departments across the state, different people, different personalities, different financing, different perspectives.
different ways of success, right?
Right,
Right, because success is not a cookie cutter thing. There's a lot of different ways to have success, and it depends on what your needs are, and understanding those needs to to have the success. You know, we oddly enough, we may be the only people in the whole United States that are screaming at you that volunteerism isn't dead.
right.
And we know that because we see it firsthand, and we see it.
What's our roster up to?
We're in the 70s, 70.
85.
Oh, with that, yeah, and
Yeah.
we've got four slated for vote
Yeah.
in the 1st of June, right? So, you know, it's growing. It continues to grow, uh, and not only is it just growing in numbers, it's growing in
Strength,
strength, quality applicant, training level, like
interest, span
interest.
of interest, distance of interest, reputation, notoriety. Again, talking about a schmuck volunteer fire department and
In nowhere, Texas.
nowhere, Texas. And I'm telling you, you just don't be disappointed. Don't be afraid to try stuff. You're going to fail. You're going to get your teeth kicked in. Learn, move on, and progress.
Right, right. And I earlier this week, NVFC punched out a social post with podcasts from Micro, and
Micro or Mike Rowe?
Mike Rowe,
Ah, yes.
Dirty Jobs. The Way I Heard It is the name of his podcast, and I listened to a small portion of it this morning. I think the post went out yesterday. Uh, but if you're a Micro fan, or if you're not, if you're just a volunteer firefighter and you're interested, he did a podcast, and I'm going to pull it up right quick so I can get the name of it out, so that you guys can look this up on your favorite podcast player. I listen to his podcast anyway. It's one of my favorite podcasts. There's great stories in it, but he does a couple of interviews with a couple of volunteer firefighters, talking about kind of the struggles of today's volunteer fire service, and what you've got to work on. And this one's called "Make Me a Firefighter" with Candace McDonald and Jonathan Dayton. And I'm into the part where Candace is on. Candace is from the same county as East Palestine, Ohio. So
Oh,
interesting
okay.
conversation, right? Uh, but uh, if Mike's very much more entertaining than we are, so we'll give him that. He does have a little more notoriety than we are, but that's the kind of stuff that
It's only because of his voice.
yeah, it is. It's that buttery smooth, like it would go well with crab in the North Sea, right? It's like it was a deadliest catch. But great conversation so far. I'll listen to the rest of it because I'm kind of a junkie for this stuff, and but the conversation's out there to be had, and even though, oh wow,
Ignore that.
that was loud.
That was nothing.
That was very loud. So uh I I don't even think you killed one on that swing.
No, but we only almost killed the most important resource available to us tonight.
Yeah. So even though the conversation's kind of a different direction than what we tend to be more positive and more upbeat and telling you how you can overcome these challenges. This is more about the challenge itself and kind of the reality of the challenge. But we know, because we engage with tons of departments, that it's not a cookie cutter thing. It's not the same everywhere. There are departments that are struggling, but what we see is the departments that are truly struggling are waiting for something to change, and the ones that are not are changing things for the better, right?
Yeah, and again, it's not an isolated thing.
No, not
It's
at all.
not. Uh there's if the longer we talk about this and the more that we discuss it, um I would argue that, particularly because of my new job, that I see some career and combination departments are really struggling. Okay. And some of it's that's just a tough row to hoe. Circumstances have made the position very difficult. Uh, in no causation to the current admin or the chief or the city manager. Okay. I mean, there's just nothing you can do about the proverbial water plant the brand new water plant completely caving in on itself, and the city having this new multi million dollar repair to a brand new facility. And the city's already broke. And I mean, uh, I'm dragging this on, but there's plenty of times when it's not just bad management
Right.
or ineptitude. There
Yeah.
are things that are out of your span of control, bad luck, and that's how the dice rolled, and now you get to deal with it.
Yeah, acts of God, and
Yeah.
we look at the North Texas area in a whole right now, and you see the amount of weather related tornado type stuff that's going on, and you realize that as much as we think we're in control of stuff, we're not in control of anything, right?
No.
Mother Nature's got us beat hands down, and sometimes that kind of stuff gets in the way of what we want to happen with our departments and our growth, and it's just a curveball that comes to you, and you got to catch it and keep going.
Yeah.
uh, that and that was one of the things that kind of shocked me and all that. I was a fly on the wall today, and I heard a conversation.
What was that?
There was this wise man that was instilling his knowledge in another individual, and the conversation veered off into why does it matter if a department wants to buy X and such equipment? Why would they not want to buy it if their neighbors didn't have it? And it was a simple enough question, right? Like, why would you choose to not do something because everyone around you wasn't doing said something? And and I heard this person explain it in a brief summary, and I thought we would kind of dive back down this hole. And turns out the person was Matt, but
I blacked out. What happened?
yeah, and it was a good conversation. It had a lot of room to expand upon, right?
Right.
So here was my takeaways from it, and then we'll expand upon it. So you're XYZ BFD, and you're in a county with, I don't know, let's just 5 other VFDs, right? And you decide that the hot new is Detroit hose threads.
Okay.
And so everybody else is national standard hose threads, right? But the hot news Detroit hose threads, we're buying all Detroit hose. We're buying all Detroit hose thread nozzles. We're getting adapters on the truck. We're going down this because it takes one less turn to tighten the hose.
Does it help you stay lower below the thermal layer and
It
not disrupt it and cause less
right. Well, and
cavitation?
it has less friction loss, and
Okay.
like I said, it's one less turn to tighten the hose on the connection, right?
Okay.
One less turn.
Does it, does
And that one
the
less,
smooth bore nozzle, does it get more penetration
they
from
do,
this?
they do,
Okay.
they do. And that one less turn saves that 10th of a second. That's the difference between life and death.
Right. Okay.
Right? So you're that department that decides this is what we're going to do. This is important to us. We're going to do it. And then you go to that call that's that mutual aid call that we all go to, like we all automatic aid, we all mutual aid. There's no department out here that's standing on their own 2 feet and not getting any aid at any time from any other organization. Doesn't happen, right? It if you go into the city, and the DFW Metroplex is a good example of that, right? There's, I don't know how many cities are in what make up what we consider the DFW Metroplex, but let's just say it's 50.
Oh God, I think you're cutting it in half. So
And I
we'll
might
just
be.
call it 80.
We'll say 80 cities, right?
Right.
So if these of these 80 cities, if 20% of them decide to go another way, and they go completely against what everybody else is doing, and they suddenly become incompatible, well, how do they work with the other ones? And then, let's say they're incompatible, but at least they're skipping 3 cities to get to the next compatible city, right? So this stuff matters, and as a chief officer, you're thinking about what are your neighbors doing to make these decisions to purchase things or tactics or whatever you're doing to utilize the resources that are available to you to your benefit.
Right. Well, and one thing I was thinking about when I was having this conversation, there's a big difference between having a personal, and this is what it is, personal preference to the tools and equipment that you're directly attached to. So I'm going to use for the example, like your PPE. Okay. Your bunker pants and your bunker jacket, they're for you.
And they don't matter.
They really don't matter. And here's why. Okay. Because when you're mutual aid somewhere, or even in your own department, okay, it's a bigger fire, you're working with another station, it's multi-alarm. Your bunker jacket's not going to go to someone else. And realistically, even if you're sick or out, no one's going to pick up your jacket or pants. Realistically, okay? But let's go to something that's a little more common use, kind of used universally across the board. And let's go real big picture. Let's say that you are an organization that for the last 35 years has had 5-inch supply line and 5-inch storage connections. Okay. How big of a deal is that to switch to 4? Not only do you have to switch all your hose, you have to switch your piston intakes. You have to possibly switch discharges, all your hydrants. That's a huge change, right?
Yeah, or at least hydrant adapters and so
On
on
and
and so
on.
forth.
Well, what about your mutual aid? You make that change. How big of an impact is that? Well, it's catastrophic.
If they're all 5-inch and you went to 4.
Right. Okay. So let's take it to a little more I want to say daily use, but more of kind of like not as obvious. Obviously, you're not just going to change your store's fittings. That would be a pretty aggressive change. Okay. What about air packs? Now, and that's kind of one of the things that we were talking about in this discussion is uh and it's going to sound like I'm dogging this company, but I'm truly not. I just saw a demo pack for Draeger. Let me tell you, Draeger makes a hellacious, awesome air pack. Okay. I really, really, really like that air pack. Here's the problem: the county I'm in, everyone's in Scott. So you show up on scene, you have a low bottle on your Draeger pack. What other bottle can you grab? You can't. You have nothing to grab. You are SOL, stuck.
Right.
Okay. And there's certain times when there's things that you might look at or want or to consider, but you need to kind of think of the bigger picture. What happens if we do switch to that? What is the impact?
Well, and the bigger compatibility issue would be the masks, right?
Mm,
So our county's all Scots, and I can take my mask and I can hook it to anybody's air pack, right?
right.
It just plugs right in, and I'm off and going. But let's say we decided that we were going to go to Draeger, we were going to go to MSA or something different than what we have, and all these products have features that are like super awesome. Like I really like the MSA has the pass device in the little dongle that has the pressure gauge and all that. So you just have to shake the whole little thing hanging off your chest. You don't have to shake your butt. You just shake the little dongle, and they have like a built-in thermal imager, and there's all these cool features. But at the same time, if I can't go get somebody else's pack and hook into my mask that I already have on, or the RIT bag, or some other thing that's important to me, it's useless, right?
Right. I mean, and I'm going to give you this is I only know of this association. I am not part of it. I do not speak for it. But there's the North Texas Firefighters Association. It's a 14 city entity, okay? Oddly enough, in North Texas. And each entity contributes a special factor to it, okay? So one department's going to focus on high angle, another department's going to focus on swift water, another department's maybe going to have trench rescue. And I mean, you kind of see the theme here. So imagine just one day, devil may care, a department decides to switch from Scott SCBAs to MSA. I mean, how many different variants does that affect? I mean, it's almost universal. Here's a big one, particularly on the air packs part. Let's say because everyone's got a RIT pack now, let's say someone makes a switch to an MSA. This is nothing against MSA. I know MSA makes a fantastic product. So don't think I'm getting my message across here. I'm just talking that everyone has Air Pack A, but all of a sudden someone subvertly and secretly switches to Air Pack C. How do you make the connection?
Right.
You know, uh, I mean, you can have devastating impact off of that decision. And and the point of the conversation that we were having earlier was there are certain times when you might really, really like a product or you really, really want to switch, but you got to consider your mutual aid, your automatic aid, and what it's going to do to them. And do they even have the possibility of trying to switch or upgrade to the superior system?
And it goes way beyond just the physical compatibilities, right? That part A hooks to part B. It goes into the sense that somebody outside of your organization may be tasked with operating your equipment and have no clue how it operates,
Right.
right? And there's the whole training aspect. Are you gonna impart a need for your automatic mutual aid agencies to do specific training for your stuff that they're only going to touch once every 3 years? and maintain pro-efficiency with your stuff. No, no one's going to do that. No chief's going to allow that to happen, right?
Right.
They're not going to do that. It's going to be off limits and off the table. So
Because I know a couple of years ago, we made a big air pack purchase and we were given a pretty serious consideration to switching to MSA. We liked it. Here was the problem. Everyone around us, our automatic aid, there was no way they could make the switch.
right,
Okay. And because of the kind of the uniqueness of the way we operate, there's 9 departments in my county. All 9 departments have a pumper tanker, and all 9 apparatus theoretically and roughly have the same configuration, the same tools, the same equipment. Okay. Well, if you go in and do something as aggressive as changing out your entire air pack system, how well are you really operating in that metric? You're not, because these trucks are designed, and the concept behind this entire system is that maybe I'm over on the other half of the county. I'm available, but maybe I'm visiting a buddy. All right. Well, a call comes in. I'm like, oh crap. Well, station Y's right there. So I go down there, jump on the truck. I'm familiar with the truck. I'm familiar with the tools and equipment. I'm familiar with the PPE, and I'm familiar with the air pack. And doing a really aggressive change, like suddenly switching air packs, not good.
yeah.
So,
And even the fact that we went to that 5.5 Scott and everybody else is a 4.5 Scott, that's a significant change, right? We have to be super conscious when we're filling bottles for other departments. Like, we have to keep that stuff in our mind because we're in that 5,500 pack is a little bit different. It's not drastically different. And you can slide that 4,500 bottle off into our pack and make it work, and vice versa. You can bleed some air out of that 5,500 bottle and you can slide it off into that 4,500 pack and make it work. But it there's a little bit of nuance difference there.
yeah.
But the operation of it and where the buttons are and where the valves are and all that stuff is just the same.
But take air packs out of it. Let's say it's extrication
Right.
equipment. Okay. Particularly extrication equipment, because I know it's real common, particularly for inner city departments, when they have that car accident, major car accident that's right there on the line, probably 2 departments going to get toned. Okay. Um, you make that switch. Well, maybe you are Hearst. Well, oh, here's a whole bunch of Hamatro. What do I do with this? Firefighters are not idiots. But the problem is that strength is in familiarity with your tools. So,
Or you break a spreader and they carry a spreader over to you and all of a sudden it doesn't hook to what you had.
right.
Or the battery dies and now the battery doesn't fit. Or on and on and on and on and on, right? It's just, you know, even down to thermal imagers. I'll even
Radios.
radios, like
Oh,
all that stuff. Like, the more consistent it can be in any given response area, and it doesn't matter that we don't match Houston, right? We're a long way from Houston. We're never going to be with Houston on a call. It makes no difference. But, our neighbors that we constantly respond with, that matters. It doesn't have to be a statewide, unless you're Rhode Island, it may need to be statewide, but you know,
I can assure you that even Houston, it's not that they ask for permission, but they're communicating to the departments around them what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, because of the bureaucracy of Houston or New York, Miami, Chicago, San Francisco, LA, Denver, Seattle. But as they start to encounter a major change, they're going to start letting the departments around them know that they're going to have a major swing in a specific direction.
Yeah, and if you're the trend setter in that situation, you can you can get by with making huge changes and changing stuff like that. If you're the trend follower, you best not shake up the toolbox too much because you're liable to find yourself on an island pretty quick, right?
Right. Yeah, and it is. It's going back to the kind of the roots of this discussion is that you might end up having a department that's really interested in X, Y, or Z, but they find hesitation, a reason to not do the purchase, even though they loved it. And realistically, what's happening is that you have a handful of people behind the scenes that are starting to pump the brakes, pull the reins, and being like, "Hey, how does this really change our operation?" And you got to consider that. You
Yeah.
got to be careful with that because when you change something really aggressive, like what air pack you're with, how many other operations are affected by that?
And again, there's a ton of different things that you can be the individual with, right? You can be the individual with the PPE. You can be the individual with the what kind of hook you're wanting to use or the brand of nozzle as long as the hose threads match, right? None of that stuff matters. You can be the individual with that stuff, but at some point you have to work in the collective.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it is. It's just, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with being real excited about hot and new. Just be cognizant when you switch to hot and new because usually the switch isn't just like a light switch.
You know,
Look at what it affects. Who does it affect? How does it affect? Because really innocuous things that really don't look like they have much of a factor, something like extrication equipment. So you go with new tools. That's awesome. Does anyone else in the county know how to operate them? And it is. It's just think about it. Be aware of the changes that you have because sometimes they don't only just affect you.
yeah. No. And again, that it what affects you and your neighbors ends up affecting the end customer, which is the public. So we always have to keep that in mind that we're public servants and what we're doing is for the public benefit and we have to keep that in mind in what we do in those decisions we make. So I think we've dove down that rabbit hole pretty good and pretty far, but uh there's tons of stuff happening besides just us going to San Marcos this month and we're having these conversations like we've had uh we have a big thing happening the 10th, right? And we're going to get deep into that. The odd look on your face is puzzling, right?
What's the 10th?
The 10th of June, we have an ISO.
Oh,
Wow. Wow. I think I'm working on that by myself. Uh,
you might be at this point.
so got a big ISO review coming up this month. Working pretty diligent to get everything gathered up for that, so we're not post haste looking for things, right? And
Right.
there's always the thing that they go, hey, do you have that? We need that, and you got to go find it. And some of that stuff that's going to happen at, on or after that day, uh, it's just normal, right? But trying to be fully prepared and have everything there that hopefully they need, and all the data and information, and that goes back into Matt and I's conversation about data and how the data drives kind of what you're doing, and how you get that data, and how you manage that data is super important for your organization. Even if you're middle of nowhere doing something, your data is important to you.
Yeah. No, we're going to have, after June 10th, we're going to have a pretty big podcast on ISO. And I don't care if you are, Johnny Redneck, one brush truck, and a milk tanker, at how important you are.
Right.
Um, and we're gonna really we're gonna have a long talk about ISO. Um, I think ISO's one of those things that people just kind of scoff at.
Well,
Okay.
and I've heard my whole entire career that, you can't build your department to ISO. You got to build your department to the needs of your community, and all these things are true, right? Uh, you just can't make that the end all be all, but in the confines of what the needs of your community are, you need to be uh, capitalizing on every single point you can get, right?
Yeah. I mean, just to go down the rabbit hole a little bit, ISO, it's a it's a exponential factor from the top to the bottom. So from a 1 to 2, the difference is 2%. From a 2 to a 3 is 4. From a 3 to a 4 is like 15%.
Right.
Okay. From a 4 to a 5 is something like 50%. Maybe not quite that high. So to sit there and say, oh, well, we're out in the middle of nowhere and, our ISO didn't really matter out here. No, it does. It particularly matters to you, because to be able to go from an ISO 9 to a 6, ooh, you're going to be saving your property owners, your homeowners, a huge percentage. 200%, 300%. Now, the bragging rights are at the top end, but for that lower end, going from a 10 or a 9 to that 876, ooh, it's
That the
huge,
dividends
huge.
are huge, right? And like Matt said, we'll go in deeper into this after the 10th, which will be, you know, the next podcast or the one after, maybe after conference when we go speak at the conference, but uh it'll be soon. It'll be between now and July, right? That we're
Right.
going to have this talk. And hopefully we, through our efforts to understand and learn, and you know,
I might even ask our ISO guy, maybe he won't come here, but maybe we'll try and go, because he lives close to us.
yeah,
Maybe we'll go up to him
yeah,
and try and do a podcast with him.
or zoom
Be,
him in.
because he's, again, let me tell you, small department, small VFD, let me tell you, career, volunteer, I don't care. If you have an ISO less than, ooh, I'm going to be brave, 3, I can tell you I can improve it. Okay. There's things that you can do to make a big difference. And I can guarantee you, for us in our ISO journey, this is a testament to see how good we are at paperwork.
Right. And it's
Okay.
like everything else, right? Any sport or athletic thing, that last 10% is the hardest to get,
Right.
right? It's insanely hard to get that last 10% or 15% or whatever it is, right?
So, weird parallel. The Olympic gold medalist in the 100-meter dash, one of the most prestigious races on the face of the earth. What's the total difference between gold medal and dead last?
It's in the tenths of a second.
Right. It's 15 tenths.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
So your ability to sit there and figure out how to divine a tenth here, half a point. Ooh, man, that's 3 points. We just didn't know about it. That's the difference.
Yeah.
I can tell you, particularly for the smaller community that you are, don't be intimidated by ISO. That's a benefit. And let me tell you, use that from a political point of view for fundraising.
Yeah, I can equate it to rifle because that's what my kid's into, is the rifle, Olympic rifle type shooting. And you know, a lot of shooters get to that 590, but very few get to the 600, right? That's 10 points, and it's that field is separated by that 10 points. And it's 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 kind of excruciating to get that last 10, and what you have to do and what you have to accomplish to do it. So that's where I look at it from. Uh but also on top of that, there's conferences. You're going to a handful of conferences this month, aside from the one we've already talked to, like.
Yeah, with my new job, I've got the and I'm sorry guys, I won't remember the full name of the conference, but it's gone to Texas and it's a Fools Conference. Um that's going to be June 6th, 7th, and 8th. That's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday in Arlington. Um Here's the one thing I really like about the Fools. And the Fools are easy to make fun of, and I make fun of them occasionally. But, people talk about, tradition's dead, this new generation's dead, on and on. They're lazy, they don't care. You want to find passion? Go to a Fool. Those guys are all about the fire service. They're all about community service, and they are all about how to do their job better. And for that, I will I have nothing but admiration and appreciation for their dedication to bettering themselves. Um
Yeah, they're 100% about training,
yeah,
right?
training and taking their training and making themselves better on scene and the service they provide.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, like I said, because I am, there's times that I may or may not make fun of the Fools guys. Okay, but let me tell you, them guys care. And they're typically young, and you know, again, I hear it all the time because of my new job. I'm in and out of the fire service, fire stations and different organizations. And them Fools, let me tell you, they care. They want to do good work. So it's honestly, it's funny that I sit there and kind of poke at them, but this new generation, I I'll tell you what, I don't know, maybe they got it figured out. They
Yeah,
they do care.
they do care. And I think sometimes the gap is between understanding that what you care about is not what the person above you should be caring about, right?
Right.
And it's not as much a generational gap as it is an understanding that sometimes my job is different than your job, right? I'm an assistant chief, you're a chief. Like, our job is different from the rookie firefighter's job. And understanding that aspect of it to know how to uh, interpret that knowledge that you're doing is important, right? We're worrying about bigger picture items than they're worrying about, and they're worrying about the nuances of hose nozzle forward and whatever, and we're on to bigger and better things, or I wouldn't say better, but bigger, different things.
Right. Well, but again, I mean, to compound what you're talking about, me and you, ISO, budgets, uh, capital, so
Marketing,
marketing. So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, advancing a hose line is really important. Be considering of new tactics and strategies associated with uh, current building construction and fuel loading and the impact to the survivability of victims. It's critical. Okay. But I have faith in my captains and lieutenants to handle that discussion.
right,
They are going to tell us what they need to do their job.
right,
Okay. Um, and one, my archaic, old, stupid, obstinate chief opinion doesn't matter, because the fact of the matter is this: if what they're interested in, is it going to hurt the patient? Is it going to hurt the conditions of the fire? If the answer is no, then shut up and
right.
get them the tools they're requesting. Get out of their way and let them go to work.
Yeah,
Okay. Other conferences. So we had the Fools. Then we have, I'm actually not going to this conference. I kind of wish I was. What is it called? IKEA? It's not IKEA.
Swedish furniture.
No. You know what? Shame on me for not remembering this. But it's an industrial class that's coming up mid-June. Then we have our SFFMA conference, and then we have the Teaks Municipal School.
A week later.
Yeah, after the 4th. Um, then we have the International School, and then we have Industrial School.
Yeah. And
So this is all in Texas, of course.
and I'm actually interested in the Taffy conference, and
When's
think
that?
that is I got a message the other day. Taffy messaged me on Facebook's Texas Fire Educators Conference.
I want to go to that. Can I?
I do want to go to that, and we've gotten the unofficial like invite, like somebody that's on the board of Taffy said, "Hey, you guys need to go." Right?
Yes, and I want to go. When is that?
It's later this year in Corpus, I think,
Okay.
at the Omni. I'll have to look at the messages, but
I think
I
it's in
I
January.
I
I
no,
saw this.
I think it's actually October or November.
God, I
October.
hope it is. I
I
thought it was like early next year.
it may be, and the gentleman that gave me the personal invite, right, uh, and said, "Hey, you guys need to come to this," is really really good dude, retired Fort Worth fireman, just really really good
I'm
dude.
embarrassed. I've never heard of Taffy until about 6 months ago.
Yeah,
I would have gone to that for the last 15 years if I'd have known.
yeah. No, it's awesome, and I didn't know about it until I got introduced to it. And I think Gene, like maybe we can get Gene roped into it, and maybe the three of us can go down there and take part in the Taffy conference, which is I think it's a good. I think it'll be a good conference. Smaller,
Then in
it's 150 people kind of conference.
and
It's
then
not
in August or September we have FRI.
FRI, yeah, which we'll be at probably more as visitors. Matt may be there for his job, but we we're certainly open to sitting at somebody's booth and doing some autographs or
Pouring ourselves out.
pouring ourselves out. Right, uh, we're we're definitely open to that, and hopefully that becomes a thing. It's right on the cusp of happening. So if we can get associated with the sponsor that'll kind of get us into these conferences and let us do our thing and let us help them and they help us, uh, it it's all the better.
Yes. Yeah, and I don't know how many other states have conferences, continuing education, uh, networking, whatever event. Texas is a big state, and I get it. There's a lot going on here. But just like you heard us talking about, there's a certain point at where you're responsible for your own education. I've been in Texas for 15 years and never heard of taffy till
Well,
this year. And I'd have gone to that every year.
I've been an instructor since 2002 in the fire service. I've instructed at area schools all over the western part of the state, and I've never heard of this
Yeah.
until recently. And kudos to the really awesome gentleman that introduced me to this because I want to be a part of it. Like I haven't found, they don't have a website. They only have a Facebook group. So there's not like, hey, I can go to this website and sign up and pay some dues because
Right.
I would have already done it. I'd have done it instantly, like the minute he told me. But it's more of a it's organized, but it's more loosely organized than say like a state fireman, fire marshals, or something like that, where there's an actual train of a website and a way to get involved. So you kind of have to know it's happening to get involved in it. And fortunate for us, we got the invite, so we will be getting involved. Uh, Beyond that, uh, looking forward to some new cool things happening down the road, and I know that the Matt's got a proposed article in NVFC coming out sometime maybe this month.
Oh, yeah. June.
Yeah, there.
June, don't quote me, 10th, 11th, or 12th.
Yeah,
It's going to be in the Firefighter Strong
uh, yeah,
publication.
right,
They do it twice a year. Um, let's call it January and June. And I'm going to have a section out in June.
right. And despite the fact that we're unscripted and we're seat of our pants kind of podcast, believe it or not, Matt's an excellent writer. If you haven't,
Yeah, I mean, I assure you, if you had any clue at my ability to write, how I became a writer is insane and absurd.
I'm more of a talker. He's more of a writer, but fortunately for everyone, we can both talk. But the the topic of that is going to be kind of that how to grow, how to build. It's kind of a big deal for Matt personally, and for the podcast in general, and for our department, right?
Right.
That to be nationally published author of information that's beneficial to the masses, we hope. uh it tends to be overlooked sometimes because I think it gets blown off as, well, that'll never work here, right? I've heard all the
Right.
300 excuses to why I can't do something that obviously works pretty well. Toot our own horn a little bit, but it works. Try it and do it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
well, again, I mean, I'm going to pound the old drum for a second here. I and I know we're getting long, but you know, I just volunteerism's not dead. It's not. You can have this incredible, thriving organization that saves your local citizens millions of dollars, that provides a fantastic service, and can be highly capable all at the same time. Are we a paid department? No. I would argue stop trying to be a paid department. Be a world class volunteer department. Take the passion, the energy, and your capabilities and pour it into the organization. Get other people to understand that they are capable. Get your individual members to understand their true possibilities. Get your local municipalities or government entities to recognize that you're a benefit, and ultimately get buy-in. Stop telling your membership that you're only volunteers. Start telling your membership that you are volunteer and that we expect more, and see what happens. Notice the inflection, the change. See what happens with your membership and see where your organization can go. Stop treating volunteer as that it's dog crap, because it's not. There's nothing wrong with being volunteer. In fact, I would argue that there's something more noble about it.
Yeah. No, it definitely falls into that nobility and the pride of the community. Like, there's so many vast benefits to not only the individual, the organization, but the community that it serves. And I think that's a good point to kind of wrap this thing up, right?
Sure.
And I me one as long time, and I've been in this for since 1999, so we're 25 years roughly into being a volunteer firefighter, and I've worked EMS and I've worked part time, and I always go back to the true, fulfilling, self-motivating part of it is in the volunteer fire service. And if I can help others capitalize on my feelings of the importance of that and my passion for that, and the fact that I don't constrain myself as being lesser or inferior, and I go after to be the best that I can be and the best that the public expects, and all those other things. If I can pass that on to other people, I think that's ultimately what my purpose is here and in the department and in the state and everywhere else that I'm touching firefighters' lives.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of compound that. I've moved on beyond the self centered part of it. In, ooh, it's an adrenaline rush. I get to go do X, Y, and Z. and that's there. And that's probably has to do a lot with age and weight gained. Um, moving on. And, but there's just a small part of me that snickers when people ask me unknowingly, when is Granberry going paid? And I'm like, we're not. And then I go through the list, and we're talking legitimate career departments, longtime chiefs, career chiefs, highly accomplished men and women, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't go paid either." Okay, and for me, the to keep it PG, the satisfaction that I get from that is for lack of better words, my inner soul being able to have that satisfied smirk
Yep.
and knowing that again, the stigma, the association of volunteer. And don't get me wrong, sometimes we do a good job of shooting ourselves in the foot. Never considering that fire departments that are career or combination do just as good a job of occasionally burning down a building.
Or laying an apparatus over on its side,
Right.
or any of the other 9,000 things that are a black eye or tarnish.
But when I can sit there and legitimately look my community leaders in the eye and telling them, I'm saving you $7 million a year. I'm saving you a 32-cent tax increase. Okay. And here's the kicker, I don't want to be career. I have no problem saying that we'll never be as good as a paid firefighter. And everyone's like, what? Hold on. Stop. What are you talking about? I don't want to be compared to a career department because, quite honestly, my volunteer department today is better than what a career department could provide.
Yeah.
And that's a sad truth.
Yeah.
A lot of time, energy, and effort. A lot of people have contributed to this. I don't get sole credit by any means. City management, city councilors, Jesse,
Former chiefs.
Jesse, former chiefs. I mean, again, we've been around since 1907. County commissioners, the judge. There's a lot of people that get credit to it. It's not me. And it's important to know that. It's not me. It's not. That have been able to lead to this. And no matter how mad, sad, angry, or excited that statement makes you, we want to be volunteer and we want to help anyone else that wants to be volunteer or combination.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I have no insights for career. I wish you the best of luck. I know you're awesome and you're going to provide an awesome service for your community. But I'm not career. My entire insight's volunteer.
And mine's volunteer and combination. So, and with that, Matt, I think that's a great wrap up point. And you know, let's just run through the notes again. You know, I know this might strike some conversation, and if you want to have that conversation, you can reach out to us on it tastes like burning cast
Mm-hmm.
at gmail.com, and then I'm gonna let Matt take the rest of it.
You can find us on Patreon at ITLBcast. You can find us on YouTube at It Tastes Like Burning. I do recommend adding the podcast on there. If not, you're going to get a whole bunch of Ralph references. And we're getting closer and closer to a whole bunch of shows and conventions Man, search us out.
Yeah,
Find us. Find us at the SFFMA convention at the end of June in Texas. I'm going to be bouncing around with Delta Fire and Safety. Coming up at Fools, SFFMA, uh, the Municipal School, and FRI. And it sounds like we're going to be as It Tastes Like Burning at Taffy. And I mean, please swing by, find us.
Find us. We'll be out there. Maybe we'll have some stickers. Well, I know we'll have stickers. I bought a whole buttload of them. But find us, and if you haven't done it yet, when this is over and we say goodnight, hit that send button. That share this podcast.
Yeah, like, subscribe, share.
And share this thing on your social media.
Find us on MVFC.
Yeah, we're out there, and the feedback is always positive. It's always engaging, and we want to keep that going. So
always.
With that,
this is Matt.
This is Jesse.
Have a good evening.
Good night.